when you think Geelong, you don't just think of Gary Ablett or the Brownlow medalist, you actually think of the Ford Motor Company. Some say it's the heart and soul of Geelong. Employs around 1,500 people. That's a lot of families, that's a lot of productivity. To find out about Ford and Geelong, we've got two blokes who work at Ford. We've got Chris Riley, who's a Assistant Senior Shop Steward. Chris, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Phil.
And Tony Anderson, who's worked 24 years at Ford down the foundry just down the road.
That's correct, Phil.
And you are, of course, a senior.
Yes,
senior,
that's correct.
Senior, which is a big distinction between the senior and the junior, I gather.
That's correct, yes.
Important.
We get more headaches.
Good man. Chris, you started your working life with Geelong about 6 years ago. Sorry, you started your working life here at the Ford factory about 6 years ago. Has it been a good time for you?
Yeah, it's been wonderful until the decision that was made recently. It's been fantastic.
Now, the decision that was made recently, do you mean the Christmas party or do you mean the loss of jobs?
Well, it's mainly the loss of jobs has been the thing that's really hurt the workers, but the Christmas party has just put the icing on the cake, really.
Why were you upset about the Christmas party and why did Ford pull the pin on the Christmas party?
Well, it's not just about the Ford actual workers that work there, it's about their families that are associated with it, and to have not only the bad news of being unemployed in 2 years' time, but to also have to go back to your kids who don't really understand that situation and tell them that there's going to be no Santa Claus this year. That's the bit that really hurts the guys, and that's the bit that hurts their morale.
Tony, did you feel the same about the Christmas party?
Most of the members did. The ones that actually turned up to the Christmas party were actually pretty shocked that Ford actually cancelled it. Ford's understanding to the members was that they were in hardship times and they couldn't afford it.
Obviously, with 24 years of continuous work
Yes.
at the Ford company, you must take a great deal of pride in what you do and understand the importance of the company to the city.
I understand the importance to the city with Ford Geelong. It's like, I think we worked it out to being about $25 million that gets spent into the city of Greater Geelong from just having the employment of here at Ford.
Do you understand management's problems? They say it's an international issue, the six-cylinder car's not flying, so they must try to cut costs. How does that argument run with you?
We would argue differently. We would argue that the imported engine's actually going to be more expensive to import than the current inline six. Their argument is that it's an actual orphaned engine. We would argue that our engine's a lot better than the V6 that they want to import.
Why didn't Ford move towards a four-cylinder car some years ago or come up with a model that was attractive in the market?
I think Ford really had a position taken that they were expecting the large car to continue making money and being sales in Australia. No one probably had a inkling on the price of the petrol in the world market or the price of oil going so high, and Ford got caught out with not having a small car.
I suppose it's pretty easy to be critical of the organisation, but could you offer some kind of solutions as to what might be done?
Well, from a union's perspective, we've sort of had discussions with Ford about, trying to maybe persuade them from actually taking the gearbox instead of out of Europe, taking a locally produced gearbox from DSI and actually having DSI manufacture it in the engine operations here. And that way it's more jobs in Geelong and it's a locally produced gearbox that could go into the locally made car.
So Chris, with these kind of problems on your mind and anxiety at the Ford plant, how do you look at the grand final and Geelong playing in the finals? Does that sweep away the problems, or do you want people to say, hey, look at me?
Yeah, well, this week's been fantastic. I mean, like around Geelong, morale-wise, because of the Cats being in the finals and the results and so on. But after this week and the next week, where do you go from there? I mean, it goes back to just plain old Geelong, and there's no football, so there's...
Do you worry about your job? Are you worried about your job?
Yeah, well, I'm worried. I'm one of the 600 that's going to be asked to leave, so...
Tony, you've had 24 years here. Yeah. You've also got two children, 18, I think, and early 20s.
Yep.
So it's a very serious issue for you. How do you put the football and life and work in perspective?
I think you put the football into a clear example of, you know, this is the 1 week in September, you know, Geelong, home and hosed in a sense from where we always sit, but you know, we've had a long support and history with Geelong, myself and the family, and you know, that's one thing. Jobs and the rest of the life in Geelong is going to be another issue on itself.
If you had the magic wand and you could get it out here at the Ford plant, what would you do to solve the problems that are occurring at the present time?
Well, geez, if I had a magic wand, you'd probably almost want to go and try and get some of the US management to actually try and figure out that we actually are profitable in making this 6-cylinder engine, and that they ought to put more investment into this city.
And I suppose, boys, we want all those Channel 31 viewers out there to buy Ford, drive Ford, is that right?
That's correct.
Buy Ford, drive Ford,
And go Cats.
and that's it.